Hello, I am Arielle Bodenhausen. I am with Chris on Hellblazer Biz.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, listeners and viewers, wherever you may be in the world right now. You are tuned in to Hellblazer Biz Conversations with the Stars, and your host, as always, is myself, Chris Gordon. Thank you. For those of you who are joining me again and returning, thank you. I appreciate your support. I'm glad to hear you or see you back. And for those of you who may be joining me for the first time, welcome. Glad to have you along. And I hope you enjoy this and subscribe to listen to over 200 more interviews that are on the channel. Today's guest is absolutely fantastic, as you have heard, and we're here to talk about her character of Wendy in the latest film Roswell Delirium by Rick Bakewell. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you the fantastic award-winning actress, Arielle Bodenhausen. I have the honour and the pleasure of the company of Arielle Bodenhausen to join me on my show, who's also in Roswell Delirium, who you've noticed we've been concentrating on quite recently.
Yes, which we love. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, it's nice to finally meet you, Arielle. So we have been sort of chatting a little bit off on social media to prepare for this. So it's great to finally get you on the show and find out more about you and your character.
Yes, and lovely meeting you as well. I'm excited for these questions to dive deeper into the show and everything.
Cool, excellent. I mean, first of all, I've got to say, you are obviously an award-winning actress, but you fascinate me because I watch your social media and your Instagram and stuff, and you're everything. You teach dance, you teach yoga, Pilates.
Yes,
it's just, how do you fit it all in?
I mean, I fit it all in because my parents have always been really hard workers, and I think anytime that you move to a new city and you have to stay afloat, you do a lot of things. Like I always just like to kind of joke, the longer I stayed in LA, my resume or my roster of things that I did grew. And I get really bored with just working a job that I don't enjoy. And so I was like, oh, I've been a dancer since I was 10. I moved out here as a dancer, had a professional dance career, still have it. I still work professionally dance wise, but I was like, oh, I love teaching dance. Then that turned into, I love teaching Pilates. So yeah, I mean, it turned into like one thing after another. I just was like, I want to follow what I enjoy doing. And teaching has really stuck with me. I really enjoy inspiring people to live a better life within their body. Yeah. And then, I mean, acting has been on my plate, I think like 7 years, because I moved out here as a dancer.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I love performing as a dancer. And then I was like, oh, I want to go deeper into story, and I want to go deeper into like what it actually means for things to come out of my mouth and as words and communicating and really diving into character. So then acting just came into place, and all the other jobs existed too. So I kept them all.
Nice. That's actually another question I had, was what got you into acting. So it's nice to hear that transition from storytelling. I find a lot of people I speak to, actors, you are storytellers, and I love that, because that's that's where your heart is. You are a storyteller at heart, and you've obviously told that through dance for so many years, and now you're, like you say, you're expressing it through voice as well.
Yeah, I actually was terrified to speak in front of people. Like I went to a dance intensive whenever I was younger. I think I was like a teenager, and I could not. I asked permission to not have to talk to the entire audience about what my piece was about. And I wrote it down, and somebody else read it for me, because I would just blush. I would get so embarrassed. I would get so like, I can't speak in front of people. I was like, I dance. That's all I do. I just dance. And somewhere along the way, I had a friend ask me like, you're not an actress? And I was like, no, I hate speaking in front of people. I would never do that.
Yeah.
And he was like, cool, come to my acting class with me. And I was like, no, absolutely hard no. And then I showed up to his acting class, and I audited and I watched. And then I was like, I emailed the teacher afterwards and I was like, how do I get into your most beginner acting class ever? And he was like, I'll see you next week. And I was like, ah! And that was the start of it. It was the most terrifying thing ever. I got a script and I paced. I looked at the director, or I looked at, not the director, the teacher.
Yeah.
every other line. And he was like, you can't do that. And I was like, but it was exhilarating. Like I loved learning a new craft. I loved the feeling of vulnerability just like boiling inside.
Hmm.
And then that surrender to it is like, yeah, it was magic and I was hooked. And then here we
Wow.
are.
That sounds fantastic. And and like you say, you've been in a short time. Well, 7 years still
Hmm.
quite a long time. It's short enough time
It's
to
still short.
start
Yeah.
build your craft and things like that. And now you've landed yourself in Roswell Delirium, which is big,
Yes.
a nice feature film.
Thank you. Yeah, it was I was very honored. I was very, very, very honored. I did a previous film with Rick
Hmm.
and Kylie. And at that premiere, he was like, I want to write this role for you. Are you cool with that? And I was like, yeah. Like who says no to somebody saying, hey, you inspire me. Can I write
Yeah.
a role for you? Like, duh. Like that was the most biggest compliment ever. And then pandemic and all the things that happened
Hmm.
to get us from what originally was a short film, that then the script kept growing and growing into a feature. And then I walked onto set and I was like, oh, this is the coolest journey ever. Yeah.
Fun. Brilliant. That's a great way. And I mean, you spoke before of the fact you've known Kylie since you were quite little. So I guess that was, it was really quite handy in the film then having to
Yes,
play a mother. It's because you've had that kind of
exactly.
relationship already. Well, not a
Yeah.
mother-daughter relationship, but you had that relationship that you've known her since she was tiny.
Yeah. But I also played her mother in the last film that we did.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, yeah. So I played her mother in the last film. And I mean, I held her in the last film. Like, I think she
Hmm.
was 6 or something. So I was like able to hold her so much easier than I was able to hold her in this film. I still did, but it was
Yeah.
much more difficult. But yeah, I would hold her, and we became like best buds back
Hmm.
then. So yeah, just being able to like be in this film. I mean, that hospital scene with her in the bed. It wasn't. That was my first day on set. So that was the first time her and I acting together on this film.
Uh-huh.
The fact that I have known her for such a long time, that moment, I mean, we might get into this moment later, but it was powerful, and it was just like the history I have with that little girl that's not so little anymore is like very, very, very special to me.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear. I mean, I wouldn't have known. Obviously, I wouldn't have known that anyway because I don't know either. Anything to know that you
Yeah.
had that sort of relationship beforehand. But the film is such a strong, emotive piece. I've said this to Rick. I said this to Ashton. I missed it the first time because it's a film I enjoy where you've got to watch the film all the way through to understand it.
Mhm.
Not one of these other. There are quite plenty out there where you can just like you dip off and do something else. And I think the first time I watched it, I was working. So I was like tapping away doing my normal job, and I was watching the film in the
Oh yeah,
background, and I couldn't do that. I realized that. So the second time,
definitely
I
not.
was just, it was just, I put myself on. I didn't put myself. I made sure I was actually not working at the time. I was after work. So I'll put it that way, so I don't get into trouble. And I rewatched it again, and I couldn't stop. It was all the little points that come through all the way through, and to that crushing, heart crushing ending. So
Yeah.
it's just all three of you. You, Kylie, and Ashton as the older one as well. The performances were just phenomenal from all of
Mhm.
you. And you're welcome. And your character Wendy, can you describe her a little bit for everybody who might be watching? Just thinking.
Yeah. I play a mom, and a mom of, I think we had May around like 11 or 12. I think technically she was 12 or 13, like actually Kylie.
Hmm.
Um, but I play a mom to an 11-year-old, which I was a young mom. And that I was a mom, a wife, a daughter. Like at the beginning of it, my dad is living there. And so it's this woman who is trying to, I kept like in my script, I just kept said another moment of like keeping up with the Joneses. Like I think she wanted the world to see her as like this perfect, I have it all together, everything is good. When in reality, everything was crumbling, but she didn't have anybody to talk to. And the only person that saw her was her daughter, I think, to me. So yeah, I mean, she was this mom who was just trying to keep it all together, and
Mm-hmm.
watching her daughter see her, I think, was a really cool journey. That was a cool journey that I went through as playing that character. I would find these
Yeah.
moments where I would be with May in a scene, and I was trying to keep it all together, and she would look at me and I'd be like, oh, she's seeing me. Like, she's
Mm-hmm.
seeing that I'm struggling in this moment. And I think it's brilliant that Rick didn't write in there dialogue around that. I love that he had that as a subtext that was just like under it. Yeah, and this mom just wanted her daughter to be safe and to be okay. I think she wanted her to be more okay than herself, and I think that is the most motherly thing ever. And then you see this journey of the world around her crumbling. So then she tries to make her house safer and tries
Mm-hmm.
to like protect her and her daughter from everything. Yeah, this it just is that like warrior mom that also doesn't do it all right, but she's just trying her hardest and failing along the way, stumbling forward, I
Yeah.
guess, in all the ways.
Definitely, definitely, and it does come across. You can see, like you say, as you mentioned, obviously she lived with her father, Wendy, obviously with at the beginning, and
Hmm.
Firefly's grandpa, and because that hit me a little bit, because to be honest, 1 minute you're there, because obviously the background
Yeah.
of this nuclear attack and things like that going on, and you can see that he's obviously your father, sorry, not your father, Wendy's father has aged
Hmm.
quite a lot. He seems to be ill. From my, he's got this. He's
Yeah.
just sits there, and then the last scene you see of him is Wendy saying, "Don't worry, you stay in the car, and I'll come back for you." And that's the last you ever
Yeah.
see of him, and you're just like, "What happened to him?" And you just think that's obviously when the attack came, and must have.
Yeah.
It was just like, I was like, wow, it's that bit got me. I was like, okay, that's the first thing which, whoops, the first thing which hit me was like, wow, that's a big loss straight away. And it just sort of,
Yeah.
that's the whole part of the film, is it deals with that loss of that nuclear attack first, and it, like you say, it's more of an undercurrent, which it doesn't
Hmm.
deal with it directly. It's the way Rick's done it, because we focus so
Yeah.
much on Wendy, Firefly, her dad at that time, and that the nuclear side of things, this nuclear attack just seems to be a running underbelly where people are getting sick, but
Hmm.
they that's not the focus of the story. The focus is pure and simply the family story.
Right, exactly. And I think with what Rick was doing was so that like that moment of losing my dad in the film, and the fact that it just goes back into, I think the next scene is me in my like jazzercise or
Yeah,
something. It's
yeah.
very like it cuts to, and like I think that's also such a good representation of how what humanity does when something happens in the world that we can't control. I mean, we just
Hmm.
try our best to move on, and we just do what we can. And I just love that that's like how we rolled into that next moment. And it wasn't like, oh, let's talk about how my dad died. Mayday doesn't have a grandpa. There's just that simple
Yeah.
moment where she walks by and moves the cane up to where it should be. And that like,
Mm.
I remember watching that while it was being like while we were filming it, and I just was like, ugh, just like tickles my heart a little bit of just like that hurts.
Yeah, there's very subtle references. I mean, say, and the scene where you do, with your the warm up. I was trying to do warm up with the weights. That's pure 80s. It was, I lived through the 80s, and and that's the whole, the film's underlying thesis is set in the 80s as well, and little
Right.
references like that. And I remember living through the 80s, and that's all you ever saw on TV, with these little workout people, with
Rick
oh,
kept being like, you can't do it good. You're not good at this, because my dancer was coming out. I was like, on count, everything was right. And he was like, stop, stop doing it on beat, on the right timing. And I was like, okay. So that was kind of fun to just like take that away. But that between, because I didn't have that many bubbly moments or like lighthearted
Mm,
moments in the film. And that scene was right after I had just a small moment. There's no dialogue, but I was just laying in bed crying because my husband just died. And I was a mess. I was crying so much. I got very into that moment, like a lot. So I was
yeah.
just so like, it was so intense. And it's so funny. It's just like it's like a moment in the film. Like there's just one moment of me crying in bed, but it felt like an entire just like sob fest for me. So I go back to the makeup chair. They're bringing me ice. They're putting ice on my eyes because my eyes are all puffy. I can't stop crying. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting done up in my jazzercise outfit with my hair up into this ponytail, but I'm putting on like my like leotard. Everything is bright and bright and bubbly and like light, and I'm just
Yeah.
crying. There's pictures of me just bawling in this
Oh
outfit.
no.
It's cracks me up, but that's just like how it went. It was so fun to like jump into that, but I was so happy to do a happy scene
Yeah.
because there was few of those. Few.
Yeah, there were very few. It's interesting as
Yeah.
well because obviously some people might not realize, films don't get filmed in sequence that we see them. So, like you say, you can go from a scene which was later on, obviously in what you just described, where it's a very
Yeah.
upsetting scene, and the next minute, it's like you say, all happy dancing smile. Excellent. And with Wendy's character as well, without spoiling it for people, you can see because with Firefly, the story is you can see the way, obviously it's. This is going to ruin it for people, isn't it? The way I say this,
I know. I'm like, what are you
the
about to
way,
get at? That's not going to ruin
yeah,
it.
the way she's reminiscing about life and how it was and everything like that. But with
Yeah.
Wendy, you can see it's there regardless because they're Firefly sees things with her dad, and there's different ways she paints him and pictures and stuff like that. However, the reality is there is those little snippets where she's dead upset, really say dead upset, but that's colloquial for that's why I speak over it. She's really upset because you can see between Wendy and the father, there's that tension, there's that unhappiness, there's the
Yeah.
like you say, your Wendy's character's going day to day trying to just go through life, and you do see that all the way through. No matter how Firefly tries to paint the picture, it always comes
Yeah.
back to you, your character, you as Wendy, just
Right.
struggling to try to keep together, basically, in a
Yeah.
harsh world.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of those. I don't have kids. I'm not. Obviously, I'm not. Also, I think I aged to age 60 in this film. So I'm also not 60 years old. So I don't
Yeah.
know what that's like to one, have a daughter, and also to travel that many years in time with a child.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a really good representation of that with my mom. And we went through a really deep loss in my family. And I think I just channeled her a lot of like, I can see in her what it's like to make your children your world. And like, don't mess with my kids. I will do anything. And I do think that it's this really cool journey. It's like you're going with Mayday the whole time and you're seeing the life that she's living and kind of like exploring as a kid in this world. And then you get to the end and you see through a mom's eyes who is like, you've been my sole purpose this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I will stay exactly where I'm at. And without giving it away, I'm just going to say I'll stay exactly where I'm at because I'm okay too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it is that like really, I'm like getting like almost like chills or just like kind of like getting back into that moment a little bit, getting a little emotional thinking about it because it's that powerful, just like the amount that you care and love for somebody. And I mean, I really did a ton of work on wanting to build that in. And I did use my mom as a lot of reference points or just knowing how she is. And
Mm-hmm.
my mom's incredible. Does any mom ever get it perfect? No, but like, so I also was able to sympathize with that and like be like, okay, my Wendy could definitely do this. And this is like, understandable in my mind. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
this is what a mom does. So I love that ending moment that it's through Wendy's eyes a bit more, or at least you see her side of it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a fascinating transformation for Wendy as well and it was interesting to hear that the first scene that you had with Kylie was that hospital scene as well,
Oh
because
my.
out of all those scenes, because that, I mean, I was going to ask you, were there any particular scenes or which deeply resonated with you, and you've already kind of touched on the fact that one did. It was
Yeah, that wasn't just my first scene with Kylie. That was my first day on set.
yeah.
So I walked on set. My first call sheet was hospital. I think we had, oh, that was a lot of time ago. I feel like we had a couple scenes before that scene,
Mm-hmm.
which was very kind that we didn't go straight into
Yeah,
that
just throwing
scene.
you straight into that one.
Whew. But yeah, that I mean, there's that feeling as an actress where you do something that is so excruciating and so painful and so hard, but then you're also like, that was amazing. Like, I can't ever tell you that those emotions feel good to have,
Mm-hmm.
but to feel like the world is that real, that's a job well done. And everybody on set created that world for that day. Um, it was very hard. Like I said, I have a close connection to loss, and
Yeah.
that was a very hard thing to step into. I don't know if you can tell my voice gets a little shaky talking about it
Yeah,
because it
no,
was
no,
very, very
it's fine.
emotional for me.
I can imagine.
But yeah, sitting down and getting into that chair because Kylie was already in bed there, and so then they're like, "All right, let's bring Wendy in," because I was getting in my space and letting all the
Mm-hmm.
crew and lighting and all the stuff, and so I walked in, and you I don't know about you, but sitting down next to a hospital bed in general is not a fun place to sit. And whenever they create a world in a set that looks so real, and it just took me into it so much more. And Rick did an amazing job on just like allowing space. And I
Mm-hmm.
even I even called Rick over because I sat down and I was like, I'm about to bawl. Like I'm losing it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're about to do, but I'm just going to tell you I'm going to cry for a second. So, and then he like went over, whispered to our DP and was like, they did something. Camera started moving around differently. But he allowed that. He allowed that space for that emotion to come up and for that, yeah, that real reaction. It was hard. It was a hard day, but it was also a very, very powerful, cool day to be like, everything that we do as performers just came kind of like colliding together.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear. Obviously, I was going to ask about if there's anything, if you managed to use anything from your own personal experiences in the film. So I won't go further into that because I appreciate it's something that
Yeah.
does hurt. So you've just kind of explained that all there through there, and you're right. I mean, I can just imagine if you've I've gone through loss like that as well. So I'm trying to picture, probably hear it in my voice. I'm trying to see how I could imagine that in your eyes when you're suddenly put into that situation and you're
Yeah.
there, and you've got to manage that on set and manage your way through that, and
Right.
channel that in your inner self to be able to put a scene. And um, I guess it makes them more, like you say, for everyone on the set and everyone on the crew, it does make it much more emotional and much more involved that
Mm-hmm.
everybody's there. And I know the final scene as well, for example, in the little room, the
Yeah. In
big
the
room, should
in
I
the
say,
room. The room.
in that room with Ashton and Kylie,
Right.
you've got that one.
Yeah.
And so far from the people as well, that was a highly emotionally charged moment as well, I guess, because I think, was
Yeah.
it you and Ashton hadn't seen each other for 3 months, Rick said, and he just brought
Well,
you in?
we
Was it?
in the script we hadn't seen each other. For that for like how long hadn't we seen each other? We saw each other because she came on set a little bit and we would see each other, but we hadn't done any dialogue. We haven't ran any dialogue
Yeah,
at all with each other. I think that was it because I think from audition to that point.
right.
But like I would see her as Ashton. Her and
Mm-hmm.
I really only had, I think, that scene together
I
at the
think so,
end.
yeah.
And I would see her on set. She would pop in every once in a while. I also went to see them film at the mansion. And because I was like, I just kind of want to see like the story that just
Yeah.
research in a way. Um, and it was very interesting because it was one of those days where I was so bored all day because I literally was on set just like stuck in this room. I just was like, um, but I understood why. And then I got put in the makeup chair, and I think I had about anywhere between 6 to 8 hours in the makeup chair.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. That was like I love being in the makeup chair. I think that was the first time I got to the point of like, breathe. People are just going to keep touching you and keep doing all this stuff.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and like the way that your face feels when you age that much with like all the like, I don't even know what they put on you. They did such an incredible job, but like it feels like your face is a raisin. So I'd also like try to talk and it was so weird. So there's a ton of things that were kind of like hurdles for me to go
Mm-hmm.
through. And then I kept just being like, I'm going to see my daughter. I'm going to see my daughter. I'm going to see my daughter. And that was an interesting, like, it was just, I felt like such a long day waiting for that moment. And then I
Mm-hmm.
went back there and they had all the lights off. So I couldn't see anything. And I mean, also, this was a pickup day. So I also like wanted to see everybody that I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
So there's that side of me too, where I was like, this family of mine, I want to see them. Um, and then I remember whenever I walked out and that first performance that Ashton gave, I remember sitting there and just being like marveling at Ashton's work in general,
Mm-hmm.
but then also seeing the pain and the hurt and hearing these words that she's saying and knowing that they're about me. And it was just like this, like, it was receiving that much was very interesting and very, it was worth it. It was worth it to sit in
Yeah.
that day that I was bored and I was waiting and I was sitting in a makeup chair and I just kept being like, I'm going to see my daughter. So it was a really cool choice. I think it was cool to keep us separate. And yeah, that first take was pretty magical. I mean, every other one was nice too. And I don't even think he told me whenever he switched them. I don't think he told me much. I think he really just was like, okay, go back to your little area.
Yeah.
Like go back there and not sit. And it was very weird back there and dark and
Mm-hmm.
creepy. And then I would come back out and then it would be Kylie sitting there and I'd be like, oh my gosh. Like, so I was shocked every time that camera was
No.
there and I was sat down in that chair and the lights would turn on. I'm like, who's there?
Yeah. Which one of you? Which one's in it now?
Exactly. Which one? What emotional journey am I going to go on? But my
Uh-huh.
character was in such a receiving state there.
Yeah.
All she wanted to know was that her daughter was okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she was alive was like, I feel like it was a success. Like I felt like Wendy was so happy. Did I just ruin the whole movie for everybody by saying that? But
Put big
don't
things. Spoiler
spoiler.
alert.
Whoops.
It's fine. Don't worry.
But no,
I think
I
I've
feel like
already
Wendy
done it
was.
before.
I feel like Wendy was just so the fact. Like I think she just sat down. It was so much of me sitting in that character. I remember being like,
Yeah.
okay, they're okay. Sad, but they're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine it because Wendy, the character, again, I won't ruin it, but yeah, that whole time that because you've aged that much and you've seen how much Firefly's aged, and you realised
Mm-hmm.
that's the time that Wendy has just been on her own, and she's
Yeah.
just had that running through her mind the whole
Yeah.
time. What's happened, what's gone on? Because the last time you
Yeah.
see them is obviously that other scene in the hospital,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's the last time really Wendy saw
Mm-hmm.
Firefly, pretty much. Spoiler alert again, but that's it.
Yeah.
So you think all that time's gone by, and it's just it rips your heart because you're like, wow. And that's again, it's the emotive performances of all three of you.
Yeah.
Then again, we're just so in tune with each other.
Thank
Ashton
you.
said, I think her hands went numb, didn't she? Because she just couldn't. She was just so into the
Yeah.
scene with yourself as Wendy.
Yeah. It was. I don't know all the work that she did or what she pulled from or where that was existing on that day, but I do remember sitting across from her and being like, this is one of those moments that I could be in an acting class. I could be in anything. This wouldn't even have to be filmed and this would still stand out as a powerful moment in my life. And the fact that it was captured on film is pretty incredible. But yeah, very powerful. And I do think that, I mean, the same way of watching it, like kind of how you were saying, is like it's not spelled out for you. The script was not spelled out for us.
Yeah.
And I love that. But there was a lot of time on set where I'd be like, I'm kind of confused. Like, can we talk about where we're at? And,
Yeah.
because I'm losing my mind at some points. I don't like the delirium of it existed too. And so it's like some points you're really matching reality. Some
Yeah.
points you're really in that. And some points you're really not. And finding when that happens and when you're not. And I feel like that ending moment was a really cool blend of it all. Like it really brought everything together, which was really fun to watch, especially because watching it for the first time, I was like, how is this going to happen? Like, how is this story going to be told? So it was
Mm-hmm.
fun to watch that and be like, oh, this is how he did it. And then I actually watched it a second time, and I too
yeah.
realized more. I found out, like, it was something where that second time that I watched it, I even was like, there it is. I see it. So even doing the whole film, I had those moments as well.
Excellent. So it's that's the scene, because I think that's that ending was the second time round. That's when, you know, it did everything, just suddenly went in my mind. It was like a little click. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And this, I think, you know, the DP and stuff, and for what he did, the way it was directed, because you'd suddenly you'd have yourself or Ashton, think it was, talking, but then it would freeze, but the voice would I just loved the way that was filmed,
Yeah.
because it was just like freeze on that word, but the voice would carry on, and then it would suddenly pick it up again, and it was just,
Yeah.
it was so cleverly done. It was
So good.
like,
Did you guys talk about how there was two cameras going that day? Did he tell you that?
no, I can't remember. I don't think we did. No.
He did. Rick had made sure that they had two cameras going. So that
Right.
was nice to make sure that we weren't having to redo coverage. Like we weren't
Mm-hmm.
like having to do any of that. Every single one of these scenes was so present. Both people, like it was reactions and whoever was, because I didn't have a lot of dialogue, but I was always being filmed, like even when all the dialogue was happening. And I think that helped so much with like
Mm-hmm.
really allowing that seamless transition to go, because everything was being captured. So
Yeah.
it was pretty fun.
I can imagine. And that's where you said you didn't have many lines in that. You didn't.
No.
But again, that's probably where
Mm-mm.
your experiences of being able to perform through body motion, the body language has really
Yeah.
excelled, because it was there. And, you know, it was
Thank
like,
you.
you might not have had the lines, but it was still powerful, as if you was like speaking a complete monologue all the way through,
Mm,
because you could see it all in Wendy's face and everything, the way, and the
thank you.
eyes, and the emotion coming. It was just raw emotion coming through.
Mm.
And that end, when you say the switching as well, as it walks when leaves, and I've ruined it now, I know, but you know, as Wendy gets up and, you know,
I think it's
it's
still
fine.
vague, but yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's a bit, you know,
Yeah.
it's very, very powerful on that one. So what was the
Yeah.
most, I was going to say, what's the challenge? We have gone through that. I've looked at that and seen what the most challenging scene was for you as a film, but we've kind of touched on that as well.
Yeah, I think that was
So
I think the hospital one.
yeah,
Yeah.
so now that you've portrayed the character there, what is there anything that you've take away yourself and learned from their journey on how you maybe better yourself
Anything that
moving
I
forward?
took away
Yeah,
from Wendy or from the experience of filming,
I'd say
or
from the
either?
experience, for both actually, or from either. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Let me see. I mean, I think for Wendy, developing the role of Wendy and that character, and really getting to play her out over that many years, I feel like I think the acceptance to just kind of one allow yourself to not be perfect, and realizing like, yeah, whenever you try to hold it all together, that really doesn't all by yourself, that doesn't work out. However, trying your best can be a very applaudable. And I think Wendy's character really I think she just tried her best. I think all she wanted was just, and it came from such a loving and caring place. So, I
Hmm.
mean, if I could at all step into those shoes in my future as life continues to carry on, I would love that. From the experience of filming, I think one, trusting instincts would be is something that I think I'll always take away from every project I do. I think
Yeah.
there's your um, freest self, and then the self that likes to judge right under you. So there's moments
Hmm.
where you're like, okay, I would love to get to my freest self 100% of the time, which I had that on this film. I had a lot of moments like that. But of
Right.
course, we all have those moments too where we're like, oh, I would change that. I would want to be a little bit freer. Um, but yeah, I mean, I really think, I mean, working with Dee was awesome. She gave me like a lot of little tidbits while we were
Right.
filming, like in between takes, because I remember they did all of her coverage.
Yeah.
first, and then they turned on me, and we were kind of running late on time. And Rick was like whispering to our DP Carter and was like, "Hey, okay, so we're having about to go to like either we're about to go to lunch or right after lunch. We then had to do a company move,
Hmm.
and I just heard the time that they were like needing to like kind of rush through and get through. And Dee
Yeah.
looked at me and said, "Look at me. You don't listen to that. Don't get distracted by that." And like a few of those moments happen on set with some of these veteran actors that you're just like, okay, that was cool. That was incredible. That I just got that like sideline like
Mm.
tidbit that I can put in my pocket forever. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, what am I doing getting distracted by that? But it was so cool to learn that by Dee Wallace herself. Like, how incredible. I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of went all over the place, but
It did, yeah. No, so was my
those are
question all over the
some
place, don't
things
worry.
I
No, that's great. And you got to actually, your character as Wendy, and you yourself got to actually, you had Dee, you had Reginald Johnson, you had Sam Jones as
mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
I met Sam at Comic Con a few years back, which was a
Oh, he's
lifelong
fun.
dream because my surname Gordon. So it's
Oh,
like I've
okay.
been called Flash,
Yep.
nicknamed Flash all my life. So I met him and Melody as well. So I both had, photos with Flash and
Yeah.
Dale Arden. So I was like, yeah, he seems like a lot of fun. And Reginald as well. I would have offered him
He's,
a Twinkie personally
oh
from
my gosh.
Dial.
Yeah. I mean, everybody was so amazing. Sam Jones was so fun to work with.
Hmm.
He had my day full of dialogue. So I had like, I think 2 to 3 pages of dialogue that I just
Yeah.
went through. And Rick cut it up a lot. Like it was edited up a lot. And that
Hmm.
was the intention. But I had so much and it was so fun. And but it was so hot in that bunker. It was
Yeah.
so hot. But he was a champ. He was like he used it. He worked with
Hmm.
it. He like the way that you watch a veteran walk onto set and the way that they take care of themselves, respect
Hmm.
the set, and they do it all in such a I'm here for the team type of way.
Yeah.
That like learning from that and just witnessing it and being like it's just so special. It's one of those things that you walk away with so much just based off of experience. And
Hmm.
it was fun to have that scene, and he was so present with me the entire time, and we talked about the characters and about what this meeting in the bunker is all about. And
Yeah.
it was fun to play with. I think that was within our first week of shooting too, so it was like it was a fun first week for me.
Brilliant, brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's lovely to hear that as well, because I think on a film like Roswell Delirium, when you all come together, it's a smallish set compared to like your big Marvel
Yeah.
things and stuff like that. And I love independent film in that respect, because everyone's there together for the whole point of
Yeah.
making that movie, and that's what the passion is. And it's that passion, and that comes through and transcends from yourselves,
Hmm.
reading the lines and going through it right through to the screen, to the person watching it, because that's where the feelings really, really hit.
Yeah.
And because you get that, and it worked really well. I will say that for them as well. I'll say that because I'm talking to you. No, it's true. It really worked well,
Oh
and it was
yeah. Thank
highly
you.
emotional. Cool. So before we wrap up on this one, is there any?
Hmm.
I don't want to wrap up again. I talk to you guys. I'll talk all day. I love it. It's
I
great.
know.
Is there anything that we're going to be maybe see you in the future doing, or what are your current plans now
Yeah.
for the
Current
near future?
plans. I mean, I have another film that's out in the festival circuit as well. It's called Disappearing
Okay.
Boy, and that's fun. I play a sister, a protective motherly sister. um, I really feel like I'm on this cusp, like this like next transition where I'm excited to maybe the last, I think, handful of characters I played are very nurturing and loving and
Hmm.
hard, deep, sad characters. I would really like to do a bubbly light one or like a free spirited, almost like rom com would be really fun.
Hmm.
So I'm also kind of directing my energy and my attention that way. I love drama, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I will dive into a dramatic role in a heartbeat. But really, I'm kind of like shifting my focus a little bit to be able to smile and be able to like
Uh-huh.
go on to this into this other side of a character that I haven't explored that much of. But
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of feel like with last year's strike and so many things, it kind of feels like another like new chapter, especially with this film
Mm.
wrapping out and
Yeah.
coming to the platform or to I guess festivals right now. But So yeah, that's kind of my next direction. But then again, you might see me in a dramatic role as soon as I get. You never
Whichever
know.
way, it'd be lovely to see you in that kind of a role, but whichever role, it'd be great to see you on screen in that way as well. And I think the writer's strike and things like that, and then COVID, and then you had the writer's strike, and it's just been
Yeah.
a domino effect, really, hasn't it? So it's
Yeah.
great that things are coming out now, and
Yes.
people are getting that scene, and there's a whole different dynamic to movies now, which is great about how we can
Yeah.
watch them. So. Fantastic.
I
And
agree.
before I stop recording, Ari, is there anything you'd like to say to people who are watching or listening? Just one final thing.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you've watched the film, amazing. Thank you for being here and go off and create something in this world beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.